Hello and welcome once again to another retro wrestling review for Cheap Shot Entertainment. This will be the third year. No, I started in the 2000s. I started this in 2020 as well. So we've done 2020 pay-per-views, we've done 2021 pay-per-views, we've done 2022 pay-per-views, and now we're in 2023. So this will be the fourth year running of doing retro reviews for Cheap Shot Entertainment. You are the Cheap Shot Nation and I am your host Luke, and we go squarely towards the January staple of the Royal Rumble, one of my favourite events of the year and something that I do endeavour to get my friends together and watch between us, because there's nothing quite like watching a Royal Rumble with people around you, because of the reaction and just the pure joy when someone comes back that you're not expecting or whatever. And obviously the main thing is the Royal Rumble, and you usually get a title match in there somewhere. So the main thing, I mean, all the pay-per-views now are joint, even though the brands are split. But back in 2002, 2003, they were toying with having separate pay-per-views, doing one each, and then bringing all the people together for the big pay-per-views. And this would obviously be a big pay-per-view, with SmackDown having Armageddon the month before in December 2002. Again, decent pay-per-view, a couple of really good matches there. But we move on to the Royal Rumble, 19th of January 2003 in the Boston TD Gardens in Boston, Massachusetts, or otherwise known as the Fleet Center as it is now. The theme song is Falling Apart by Trust Company, and the main event is obviously the 30-man Royal Rumble match, with the arena appearing in games such as SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, WWE Raw 2 and WrestleMania 19. And it is available on the WWE Network, hashtag 999, as well as being a sellout audience of 15,338 WWE fans. So we have a Sunday Night Heat, which is like the pre-show, the build-up show, what do they call it now, the kick-off show. It was Spike Dudley versus Steven Richards, of which Spike Dudley came out on top. So we've got a lot to get through on this review, so we're going to jump into the main part of the video, because there's a couple of matches before the Royal Rumble, and yeah, it's going to be a good one. So I hope you enjoy the review, podcast, the video, whatever you're watching on. Do join us for future videos, because I really enjoy doing these retro reviews, and I hope you enjoy listening to them. I will see you in the main part of the video. This is awesome! So we start off with a qualifying match for the Royal Rumble. This feud has been going for a couple of months now, ever since Survivor Series 2002, where Big Show took the championship from Brock Lesnar with the help of Paul Heyman, who is now managing the Big Show. Big Show comes marching down to the ring first with Paul Heyman. Brock Lesnar is on his way next. He looks like an absolute beast at this point. Obviously still a young man, with his whole career in front of him. Sad that it did end for a while in WWE the following year, but you know, he would come back and obviously dominate again, which is really cool. And yeah, the winner in this match gets a spot in the coveted Royal Rumble, of which this match is very quick, but it obviously needs to be, because one of these guys is going to be in the Royal Rumble and is going to be wrestling essentially twice, and potentially going from number 1 to number 30 depending on what number is drawn. So yeah, they've got to qualify. Paul Heyman does his very best to help the Big Show here, but you know that the Big Show is purely a transitional champion at this point in time. He's wearing his singlet, but he's also wearing black jeans. There's not much to him at this point. It doesn't look the part, in my opinion, as a wrestler. Obviously, they're changing it up a little bit for him, and he's gotten really big at this point in time. So he's struggling again at this point in time as well with his weight and stuff. So Vince, being big on the Big Show, literally did offer to help Big Show to get back to fitness. I mean, in his prime, Big Show was absolutely phenomenal. He was a phenomenal athlete, and it doesn't show here. Really doesn't. He puts on a good match, as you'd expect from a veteran such as Big Show, and ultimately comes up short against Brock Lesnar, the younger, faster, fitter, stronger Brock Lesnar, who would jump out of a choke slam, F5 the Big Show, and get the pin. And it's as simple as that. He gets the pin. Brock Lesnar goes to the main event, which is the Royal Rumble. And obviously, Paul Heyman's very annoyed by this, and so is the Big Show. But I'm going to give this match, it's difficult to... I did enjoy it, so I'm going to give it a 3 cheap shots out of 5. Even though it was a very short match, like I say, it should be, because they're going into the main event as well. And it did its job. It did its job for me. It continued the story, a story that did need finishing here, because it wasn't really going anywhere. We move on to Terry interviewing Chris Jericho, who says that he had the opportunity to pick any number of entrant to enter the Royal Rumble, and he corrects her quite rightly, because he is the Ayatollah, and says, actually, I did not get to choose whichever number, because there's favouritism in the WWE, and Vince McMahon handed Shawn Michaels entrant number 1, which is why he picked entrant number 2, and superstar after superstar is going to be eliminated by Y2J in his road to regaining his championship at WrestleMania. And then we go on to the next match, which is for the World Tag Team Championships. It is the Un-Americans of Lance Storm and the incomparable, absolutely legendary William Regal, who can do no wrong in my book, and nothing will ever be proven when people say that he's a cheat. Because we go on to that match, and they are going against the Dudley Boys, of course. The Un-Americans are the tag team champions. The WWE like to line up the foreigners as being the heels, as being the bad guys, so that the Americans, the stinky, smelly American people, can chant USA, USA, USA over and over again, like it's going to give the Dudley Boys power. Sorry, I went into full Reverend mode there. Cut a promo on the Dudley Boys. Probably not a good idea. But the match itself, again, very quick, as you'd expect from a Royal Rumble pay-per-view of 3 hours long, where the Royal Rumble match itself is going to be around 60 minutes plus. So, so it is, again, it's a bit of a throwaway match. It had some decent moments in it. Chief of Staff Morley, would come down to the ring to distract the referee for some reason. And with the referee distracted, William Regal would try and hit the power of the punch. He missed. He got flapjacked into the 3D, and then Devon would pick up the knucks and hit Lance Storm with them to win the championships. The World Tag Team Champions are now the Dudley Boys, and they are champions again, multiple times over. Like I say, bit of a throwaway match. There's not much time to capture the imagination here, but it was a serviceable match with how much time they had to work with. Now, a lot of people who review wrestling have not come from the background of actually being in wrestling. They've only looked at it upon the through the eyes of a fan. Now, I know from experience that quite often a 3-hour show, depending on how many matches, you've probably got 10 to 15 minutes to put on a match. And especially if there's a big match at the end of the night, it's probably going to be around the 10-minute mark. And that's difficult. That is difficult to do. And some companies, they work entrance to exit. So whilst you've got 10 minutes, whilst 15 minutes, 20 minutes sounds like a very long time, if you have 5 minutes off for the entrances, and then you have 5 minutes at the end for celebrations and leaving, you've got a 10-minute match. And you've got to put a lot of stuff in that match. And these two teams, they're veterans. They know what they're doing. They got the job done. And you've got new World Tag Team Champions. I think it was the right decision. They did need Tag Team Championship changes here, because the Un-Americans were becoming stale. They're standard, like I say, standard foreign heels here with the Un-Americans. And the Dudley Boys had just reformed at Survivor Series. So, yeah, it made absolute sense that they would pick up the win. Again, I'm going to go down the middle here. I'm going to give this 2.5 cheap shots out of 5. Not quite as good as the opening match, because of Brock Lesnar being just an absolute beast, and Big Show being awesome as well. I love these two teams, but again, 2.5 cheap shots out of 5. So before we go into the next match, we get a promo package for the Colossus of Boggo Road, Nathan Jones. Good day, mate. Sorry, that was really bad. I'm sorry. The Colossus of Boggo Road didn't quite go so well for WWE. The promo was really cool, you know. It was Nathan Jones in a prison and being locked up, and then all these promos. They had to move him from Tasmania to Brisbane because of security reasons, and the lock, and there's no, well, there's a tourney lock and no padlock on it, so he wouldn't just been able to walk out anyway. But there's a review on security in Australia for prisons, but apparently it's okay for WWE to bring him out of prison and put him in a wrestling situation. Maybe it would have been safer in staying in prison, because he was a bit of a flop. And say he came in with this sort of sort of thing, by WrestleMania, he didn't even get a match. He was supposed to be tagging with The Undertaker, which we'll obviously get to when we get to it. He was supposed to be tagging with The Undertaker, but he was so bad that The Undertaker actually said, no. No. I'll go 2-on-1 with The Big Show and A-Train. Yeah. We got that to look forward to. Woohoo! So the next match is a Divas match, and it is Dawn Marie versus Tori Wilson, and it's billed as the stepmother versus stepdaughter, the first ever and the last ever, thank goodness, match of this kind, because Dawn Marie has caused Tori Wilson great heartache by killing her father, death by snoo. And obviously that leads to a match. They had a fight in a funeral parlour over Al Wilson's prone body, and Dawn Marie smashed a lamp over Tori Wilson's head, and we lead into this match. So this rivalry has been going on for a couple of months, including Armageddon, where it sort of culminated with the video that showed Tori Wilson going to Dawn Marie's room and the feeding the strawberries and all that kind of stuff. Very good TV. Very 2002, and it doesn't stop there in 2002 because it transfers over to 2003 with the death of Al Wilson. Anyway, get this match. Wasn't expecting much from this match, but you know what? The basics are there. There's some really nice arm drags from Tori Wilson, and from Dawn Marie herself. The transition from the lockup into an armbar and a Fujiwara was really good, and there's some really good technical wrestling here. There was a few moments where they didn't quite communicate on the level, but you know, for two women who were in a time where they were just brought in to show their bodies, this is actually a pretty good match. And if you look at it from that sort of standpoint where it's not just two women slapping each other, they are actually quite physical in this match, then you can appreciate it. Like I say, they are in their infancy when it comes to actual in-ring competing. So you have to appreciate that for what it is. Simply because, you know, normally you'd be in training for a couple of years and then get your first match on the main roster. These ladies are obviously in as a result of the invasion, the merger and all that kind of stuff, which is great, but then they've not had time to train properly, which is an absolute testament to Fit Finlay, who made sure these ladies were absolutely ready to put on a 5-minute match. And that's exactly what they did. And I feel the crowd could have given them a bit more love than what they did. I did hear a slight chant of "We Want Puppies," 2003, everybody. But let's appreciate this match, because if you go back, it is a decent technical match. It's not a masterpiece by any means, but it's very enjoyable, and I'm going to give it 2 cheap shots out of 5, and I stand by that, because it is an enjoyable wrestling match, not just a bikini-clad fight with two ladies who don't know what they're doing, because they thought about this, they planned this, it looked like they did, and they got to the end. And it ended with a very simple move, which was a swinging neck breaker. And to me, that was quite old school, because if you do anything like that, like a DDT or a neck breaker or anything that involves dropping someone on the head, then that to me should be the end of the match. Not jumping up and doing 6 super kicks and a flip. You know? So, yeah, kudos for that. 2 cheap shots out of 5. Well done, Tori Wilson. Well done, Dawn Marie. God bless you, Al Wilson, who lived the life and died by Snoo Snoo. It is the thing that we all want. On to the next match. So we move on to the next match, which is for the World Heavyweight Championship. It is the champion, Triple H, winning the title back from Shawn Michaels at Armageddon in the 3 Stages of Hell match. Hellacious match. He is now going to the Royal Rumble as the champion to go against the returning to WWE Scott Steiner, the most sought after free agent of 2002. And it's obviously Triple H coming down to the ring with Ric Flair as well, so we've got an extra element in there. And it's a longer match. Obviously you'd expect that for what it is, because it's for the World Heavyweight Championship. But there is a decided ring rust to Scott Steiner's work here, with Triple H basically carrying the whole lot and doing all the flips and taking all the bumps. With it being a championship match, Triple H trying everything he can to win, including cheating, pulling out the sledgehammer. In the end, Ric Flair doing everything he can to get the stoppage as well. And then you've got Scott Steiner just chucking Triple H everywhere, quite rough, quite stiff, as he always was in WCW. Go and watch some of the last pay-per-views in WCW history in 2001, the beginning of 2001, and you'll see what I mean. He hasn't really done anything since, because he's just been sitting out his on his guaranteed money. And it's a long time coming. We're talking like 2 years for Scott Steiner to get to WWE again. Obviously came into huge fanfare at Survivor Series, but here he really does show that apart from the look, he is quite stiff, and you can see Triple H carrying the whole match, and that's a damn shame, because the people in the audience could see it as well, and they audibly start booing Scott Steiner. Obviously he's come in as a face to go against Triple H, who's the ultimate heel at this point in time, wearing the suits, the shirts, the ties, that kind of thing. And it's not an awful match, but it's very down the middle. You'd expect a lot better for a championship match of this calibre, and it's quite disappointing with that. They do fight on the outside, they go down the ramp. Triple H tries to hit Steiner with the belt, as Ric Flair is distracting Earl Hebner, who a couple of times could have ended the match and didn't because of the disqualification rules, meaning that Triple H would keep the title. And that had a heightened drama to it, which gets it an extra half star. But for a championship match, I would expect a lot more. Like I say, Triple H bumping like a madman, really. And like I say, the belt shot, definitely not enough to bust Triple H open, but Triple H at this point in time, he likes to bleed, and there is a busted head as Ric Flair tries to get the referee to stop it. He does not. He does eventually, with the hammer shot to Steiner, and he does not have that anymore. And there's a couple of times he chucks Earl Hebner out of the ring, pushes Earl Hebner over, but the hammer shot is the final straw, and like I say, people are audibly booing because of the finish. And again, it's a damn shame. Triple H is your winner. I'm going to give this one 2 cheap shots out of 5. Triple H coming off a damn near perfect match with Shawn Michaels tells you a lot about those two and the chemistry. This one was completely the opposite. It was, like I say, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't great. It wasn't the title match that you'd expect from a World Heavyweight Championship match, including Triple H. So, yeah, left myself quite disappointed with this one. But we move on to the next match, and that is your WWE Championship match. We move on to the WWE Championship match. It is Kurt Angle coming down to the ring with his new team of Team Angle. Charlie Haas, Shelton Benjamin. Charlie Haas no longer with the company. Shelton Benjamin is with the company, but they're not using him properly or using him at all. And obviously Kurt Angle comes back every so often for a celebration or something along those lines. Yeah, looking back at 2003, this team was just phenomenal. It was like the precursor. It was the bloodline before the bloodline, even though there was obviously no relation between all three of them. It was just an awesome team. And then you had Paul Heyman with them as well. So it was like, yeah, definitely similarities there. And Kurt Angle's going against Chris Benoit, a long time rival of Kurt Angle. And sorry about that, my dog's barking. We've got a knock at the door. And yeah, this is an absolute wrestling classic, you gotta say. We go from a match that was quite disappointing in the way it played out to a match that was nowhere near disappointing throughout the whole thing, and it was absolutely fantastic. Really, really good from start to finish. It told a story. There's a rivalry that's lasted a long time here. They've had matches before, also very, very good matches. And yeah, this match is just, it's phenomenal. It shows exactly what we're missing with Chris Benoit no longer being with us and doing what he did. I don't condone what he did. And every time I review one of his matches on one of these retro reviews, I will say that he was not right in what he did at all. But as a wrestler, he was really, really good. Really good. And going against Kurt Angle, absolute equal, coming from two different worlds, of course. Kurt Angle being the Olympic wrestling champion, and Chris Benoit coming from Stu Hart's dungeon, very famed, in fact. And yeah, this is a real back and forth between the two. Technical masterpieces. Strong strikes, submissions put in, reversed, submission extra put in, reversed. But it would be a submission finish that would win the match for Kurt Angle and retain his championship. As Chris Benoit goes for the crippler crossface, he manages to get that locked in. Does so with Kurt Angle battling all the way, tries to roll through, goes all the way through, continues with the lock. Kurt Angle picks the ankle, only a Kurt Angle could do, and puts in the ankle lock. Chris Benoit fights so hard. The crowd is absolutely electric for this match, and that heightened my enjoyment watching it on the network, because Kurt Angle does eventually get the leg grapevine and makes Chris Benoit tap. Kurt Angle retains the championship, and it's still your champion. And this was the purest wrestling moment possibly of all of the matches that I've watched, because Chris Benoit got a standing ovation even though he had lost the match. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Can't say any more. This match is, for me, it's perfect. 5 cheap shots out of 5. Brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so he gets the standing ovation. He very rightly deserved, and we move on to the Royal Rumble match now. So we're finally on to the Royal Rumble, which is the 30-man Royal Rumble match. They didn't have a women's match at this point in time. That would obviously come a lot later, and they would intersperse some women into this match throughout the years, but I'm glad that they've got their own match now. The announcers for this one are officially Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, in the stakes of changing the commentators all the way through. And we get a mixed brand Royal Rumble, 15 from Raw, 15 from SmackDown, and it would just be, again, it's a Royal Rumble, it's a free-for-all, isn't it? So Shawn Michaels would start at number 1, Chris Jericho would start at number 2, and obviously every 90 seconds from there you would get a new entrant, and the way to eliminate your opponent, as if you didn't know if you're watching this, would be to throw your opponent over the top and both feet must hit the floor, a la Shawn Michaels in 1995. I want to say 95. Pretty sure it was 95. Could have been 96, actually. Could have been 96. Anyway, yeah. So Chris Jericho starts off with the sneak attack in this one. Quite well done. With Christian doing the Chris Jericho's entrance for him, distracting Shawn Michaels. Chris Jericho goes in, smashes Shawn Michaels and starts beating him up. Shawn Michaels never gets out of the blocks here, and Shawn Michaels goes for the blade really early in this one, and it's completely just unnecessary, because Jericho dumps Michaels' beaten, battered body over the top rope, and Michaels doesn't last very long. Very disappointed with Michaels' short tenure in this match, but it did tell the story of Jericho and Shawn Michaels. It continued that, and obviously we would get a really good match at WrestleMania 19. So for that reason alone, it's okay. Notable marks in this match, of course, are when Edge and Rey Mysterio are in the ring together. They're bouncing round. Tommy Dreamer makes an appearance in this Royal Rumble, brings kendo sticks with him and starts smashing people about. Chris Jericho actually gets a massive welt on his forehead, so big that it actually bursts during the match because it's filled with blood. I don't think they planned that, but that's my lasting memory of this match. And then you've obviously got Chris Nowinski coming down to the ring. His first appearance in a Royal Rumble since the Tough Enough series. Maven makes his second appearance in this Royal Rumble. Almost eliminates The Undertaker again. Undertaker turns around and just smashes Maven in the face with his big suit bone hands. Again, that was quite entertaining because of the year before. Maven eliminated The Undertaker and The Undertaker smashed Maven through a popcorn machine. Christian teams up with Jericho as well in this one. So you got Edge, Mysterio, Christian, Chris Jericho. The couple of things that, they go towards the tag team style. Ray does incredibly well. Chris Jericho does a lot better. You've got Bill DeMott in there, also known as Hugh Morris in WCW, who would also be a head trainer for WWE and get fired because of his actions. And yeah, you then get B Squared, Bull Buchanan. This is not his gimmick very long because of him being associated with John Cena, and yeah, he just did not get over in this gimmick at all. Then you've got Kane, you've got Rob Van Dam. They are fighting. They join up. They fight, and they fight. Matt Hardy's in there. Comes down with Shannon Moore. Shannon Moore keeps Matt Hardy in the Royal Rumble a couple of times as well. And you've got Eddie Guerrero. Jeff Hardy comes down. He hits several moves on his brother because they're feuding now. Rosie from 3 Minute Warning. Rico. You've got Jamal as well. Test coming down with Stacy Keibler with all the testicles cheering him on. John Cena as well comes out and does a rap mentioning that his style's like a swollen penis. Penis? His style's like a swollen penis. You can't beat him. Anyway, yeah. I don't think they were expecting John Cena to look at that, but Cena is actually wearing full-on jeans, which looks very weird. Team Angle Charlie Haas, he comes down, and obviously Benjamin's in there. Rikishi gets a short stint in there going against Rosie for a short while. Two big guys butting heads. Jamal again butting heads with Rikishi as well, also known as Umaga, again no longer with us. We're getting down to the last bits now. Booker T comes in. We've got Kane, A-Train in at number 5, and yeah, we're getting towards the end. Maven, again, like I mentioned, he almost eliminates The Undertaker again, trying to recreate the year before. Goldust comes in, hits the Shattered Dreams on Benjamin, and we get a reuniting of Goldust and Booker T. You've also got Batista making his Royal Rumble debut in 2003 as well. He does really well. He ends up in the final 5, and we've also got Brock Lesnar, who won the match against Big Show on the first match of the night, and this is his first Royal Rumble since making his main roster debut in March 2002, and he's now babyface, of course, because Big Show screwed him out of the title. Kurt Angle won the title from the Big Show, and now Kurt Angle is heel and Brock Lesnar's still face. Team Angle tries to throw Lesnar out, but Brock throws them out instead. He hits an F5 on Matt Hardy over the top rope onto Team Angle, which is awesome. And Hardy takes a bump to the outside as he goes up. Team Angle on the floor. A-Train with a bicycle kick on Batista as well. Number 30 spot is The Undertaker, and he is babyface now, which is interesting. They got taken out by Big Show prior to this, so this was his return match. Goes straight after John Cena and eliminates John Cena. They've just got now the big dudes. We've got the A-Train, who hits the E-Bomb on The Undertaker. Kane hits Chokeslam on Lesnar, and we have 5 dudes left plus RVD, and they're all huge guys. A-Train, Batista, Kane, Undertaker, all of these guys, and RVD. Final 4. It's Undertaker, Kane, Batista, and Lesnar. And yeah, it is the F5 on Kane, which eliminates him, and the F5 on Batista as well. He goes out, tombstone on Lesnar. Batista gets back up. So Undertaker can clothesline Batista out of the ring. Good showing for him in his Royal Rumble debut. Undertaker pulls Kane up and says, right, we're going to team up against this guy, against Lesnar. And Undertaker throws Kane out, and Lesnar then sneaks up on the Undertaker as he's gloating, dumps the Undertaker out of the ring, and Lesnar is your winner of the 2003 Royal Rumble. Massive props for this Royal Rumble. The 2002 one was iffy, but this one I really enjoyed. The finish was really good, put the Undertaker over really well, and put Brock Lesnar over. There wasn't much that he hadn't done at this point in his career, and he'd been in the company for less than a year in the main roster. So yeah, really good pay-per-view actually. It was the right balance of everything, including the Royal Rumble match, which was great, and you had the qualifying match to start with as well. It was always difficult doing the SmackDown and Raw joint pay-per-views and getting the right balance of matches. But this one was that first venture really into that. They were brand split, but they weren't really doing separate pay-per-views until sort of Armageddon of 2002. So yeah, this one was really good, and Undertaker applauds him on the outside, saying, right, you got me, and the match lasted just under an hour at 53 minutes and 41 seconds. I really enjoyed this pay-per-view. I really enjoyed this Royal Rumble. It wasn't the best. We knew that Lesnar was going to pick up the win. It did set up the feud between between Jericho and Michaels really nicely. They carried on to WrestleMania 19, which was always good. And Cena and Batista making their debuts. You know, these two would explode like huge in the next couple of years. Within 2 years, both of these guys were world champions on their respective brands. Again, like I say, really liked it. Jericho lasted the longest and also got the most eliminations as well. He lasted 38 minutes and 54 seconds. So yeah, there you go. So that's that. Yeah, I really enjoyed this Royal Rumble. I'm going to give it 3 cheap shots out of 5. First time I've actually given cheap shots to a Royal Rumble match, because they're really difficult to actually give a rating really to. And obviously the best match of the night would be Kurt Angle and Benoit. The World Championship match was really disappointing. I quite liked the Torrie Wilson-Dawn Marie match. They made it work, even though they didn't have the skills to, and they had no right to make it as entertaining as it was. They did a fantastic job. So that is Royal Rumble 2003. That is your review of said pay-per-view. If you've watched this pay-per-view recently, let us know. Give us some contact, and join us on all social media stuff. And yeah, keep watching old school wrestling, because it is absolutely brilliant. And as we are now into the new year, I hope you've had a good one and everything's going well for you in January. We've got plenty more to come, and we're getting back to watching independent wrestling as well. So we should have some more reviews of actual wrestling shows. Well, that's it for Cheap Shot Entertainment for this month. You are the Cheap Shot Nation. I am your host, Luke. Join us around the 28th, 29th of January for a review of Future, which is the first show of the year for Future Wrestling. And yeah, I'll see you again. Goodbye.
Bye.